You're walking alone through a Scandinavian forest at night. Snow crunching softly beneath your boots. Your breath turning white in the freezing air. The trees around you stretch endlessly upward. Black pine trunks. Twisted roots disappearing beneath frost and moss. And somewhere far away, you hear a baby crying. At first, you stop walking completely, because that makes no sense. There are no houses out here. No roads. No lights. Nothing except forest for miles. But the crying comes again. Thin. Weak. Cold. Like an infant somewhere deep between the trees. So against your better judgment, you follow it. One step, then another. Branches cracking softly beneath your feet. The wind whispering through the woods like something breathing beside you. Then suddenly, the crying stops. Completely. The forest goes silent. No birds. No wind. No movement. And for one horrible second, you realize something is standing directly behind you. Small. Motionless. Waiting. Then, you feel tiny hands grabbing onto your back. And a voice whispers beside your ear. Carry me to the churchyard. Tonight, we are going to talk about the MYRLINGAR. Welcome to the podcast you can't unhear. The North is a land carved by ice and silence. A place where winter nights feel endless. And forests seem old enough to remember things human beings tried desperately to bury. And honestly, Scandinavian folklore feels different from most horror stories. Colder. Sadder. Like the land itself is grieving. The mountains remember. The rivers remember. And according to Old Norse legends, the dead remember too. Especially children. Across Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Iceland, people whispered stories about spirits called MYRLINGAR. Not demons, not monsters. Something much more tragic. They were said to be the ghosts of infants killed in secret. Children born hidden from society, smothered before their first breath. Buried beneath forests, marshes, floorboards, or frozen earth. Unnamed, unwanted, forgotten. At least, that's what people hoped. But folklore says the earth never truly forgets. To understand the Myrling, you have to step back into medieval Scandinavia. A brutal world ruled by winter, religion, and survival. Small villages isolated by mountains and snow. Families barely surviving each season. Life back then could become merciless very quickly, especially for women. Imagine being unmarried and pregnant in a deeply religious Scandinavian village centuries ago. The shame alone could destroy your life completely. Church condemnation, social exile, family rejection, sometimes starvation. Because reputation wasn't just emotional back then. It determined survival itself. And somewhere inside that fear, some women made horrifying choices. Not always out of cruelty, but desperation, panic, terror. Newborn infants were sometimes killed shortly after birth, smothered, drowned, hidden beneath barns, beneath peat bogs, inside forests where nobody would ever find them. No baptism, no funeral, no grave marker, no name. As though the child had never existed at all. But the dead refused to stay silent. The word Merling comes from Old Norse roots associated with darkness and hidden things, which feels painfully fitting, because these spirits were born from secrecy itself. And unlike ordinary ghosts, MYRLINGAR are revenants, souls trapped violently between life and death, not resting, not moving on. Just wandering endlessly through forests and frozen marshes, searching for peace. Most people never see a Merling first. They hear it. That's what makes the stories so horrifying. Imagine walking home late at night through the woods and hearing a newborn crying somewhere nearby. Travellers describe the sound as wrong somehow, not fully human. Not fully animal, thin, wet. Like something crying through mud and frozen earth. And once you hear it, the stories say it follows you. Soft at first, almost distant, then closer and closer. Until it sounds like the crying is beside you. Then comes the wait. That's the part of the legend that terrified people most. Because the Merling doesn't just appear. It climbs onto you. Suddenly, without warning, you feel something small crawling onto your back in the darkness. Tiny, freezing hands gripping your shoulders. Cold breath against your neck. And a child's voice whispering, "Take me to the churchyard." The spirit wants burial, sacred ground, a name, acknowledgement. Something it was denied in life. But here's the terrifying part. The farther you carry the Merling, the heavier it becomes. At first, it feels like carrying a small child. Then suddenly, your knees start shaking. Your spine aches. Your breathing becomes difficult. Step by step, the weight grows unbearable, like grief itself physically crushing your body into the snow. Some travellers collapsed before reaching the churchyard. Others supposedly died on the road entirely. Their bodies discovered frozen in forests, with expressions of absolute terror on their faces. And honestly, that image is horrifying. A man alone in the Scandinavian woods, snow falling quietly around him, while something invisible slowly crushes the life out of him from his own back. But the Merling isn't evil in the traditional sense. That's what makes the legend so emotionally disturbing. It doesn't kill for pleasure. It haunts because it was never mourned, never loved, never allowed to exist. And honestly, I think that sadness is what makes Scandinavian horror feel uniquely painful. The monster isn't random. The monster was created by human cruelty. Still, not every Merling stays sorrowful forever. Some become angry, very angry. According to darker stories, the spirits eventually stop crying and start screaming. Mothers who abandon their children begin hearing whispers at night. Tiny footsteps inside empty houses, scratching beneath floorboards. Some wake up unable to breathe, feeling tiny freezing hands pressing against their chest. And outside, the wind carries the sound of infants crying somewhere beyond the trees. Entire villages feared these spirits, not just because of the hauntings, but because MYRLINGAR represented collective guilt. Neighbours who suspected the truth but stayed silent. Churches preaching mercy while offering none. Families protecting reputation over life. The ghost became a reckoning. A reminder that buried sins don't stay buried forever. The places MYRLINGAR haunt are always the same kinds of places. Forests where sunlight barely reaches the ground. Peat bogs swallowing footsteps whole. Abandoned farms collapsing slowly into the earth. Places where silence feels unnaturally heavy. Animals refuse entering these places. Dogs whimper and pull backward. Horses panic suddenly near old paths. Birds stop singing completely. And then you hear the crying. Sometimes, the MYRLING appears physically. A pale, skeletal child wrapped in rotting cloth. Dark, empty eyes. Mud covering tiny fingers. Other times, it appears only as a shadow crawling low beside the trees, dragging itself through snow and roots while quietly sobbing. The image itself feels less like horror and more like grief, refusing to die. There are ways to free a MYRLING, but none of them are easy, because the spirit doesn't want violence. It wants recognition. First, the truth must be spoken aloud. The child acknowledged. The secret exposed. Then comes the naming. In Norse tradition, names carried enormous spiritual power. To name something was to give it existence, identity, humanity. Without a name, the MYRLING remains trapped as nothing but sorrow. Villagers sometimes performed quiet rituals deep in the woods where the child was believed buried. Milk left beside trees. Tiny carved toys. Soft lullabies sung into the freezing dark. Almost like apologizing to something abandoned centuries ago. Then finally, the remains, if found, would be carried to consecrated ground. And only then, the crying would stop. I think what makes the MYRLING terrifying isn't just the ghost itself. It's the idea underneath it. That silence leaves scars. That shame can create monsters. That forgotten suffering never truly disappears. The land remembers. The forest remembers. And according to these legends, the dead remember too. Even today, people hiking through remote Scandinavian forests still report hearing crying at night, especially near old abandoned farms and marshlands. Most blame animals, foxes, wind, echoes. But occasionally, someone hears something that sounds unmistakably human. A child crying somewhere beneath the trees, where no child should possibly be. And if you ever hear it, don't answer immediately. Don't follow the sound too quickly. Because somewhere in the dark, something small may already be waiting for you to carry it home. I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast You Can't Unhear.